Escata cre Jason Zandamela. You are a Florida Gator.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast. Actually, we're available twice someday. Actually, we're available 3 times some days, because some days you get 2 commitments. And at the beginning of the show, I said, Escata cre. I don't know what it means, but I do know that it is Portuguese by a Mozambique artist named Jefema, and I know that Jason Zandamela's family is from Mozambique. So there we go. We dig deep here. Escata cre is a great song, by the way. Just saying, just listen. I don't know any of the words, I don't know any of the words that she's saying. But fantastic song. Love it. I am Brandon Olsen. Happy Thursday afternoon again. The Florida Gators landed their second commitment of the day. This time, a 2024 player in the transfer portal, which they did yet again. That's right. They've done it. It's Jason Zandamela, who's a 2024 freshman. He was a top 50 player in the class. Went to USC for the spring, and basically was just like, hey, you know what? Not a fan. Like, I want to be closer to home. And so he decided to enter the transfer portal. And it was immediately, he hit the portal and it was like, hey, I want to be close to home. Florida schools are right at the top of the class, right at the top of my list there. And that's great. Like I love that he came in. I will say this. I know that, and I'm sorry to be like, I'm pumped, and then immediately bring it back down. I don't know how much of an impact Jason Zandamela makes right away, because I don't know if they're willing to play him at guard. He's been a center throughout his career, and I'm not sure what they mean there. However, that doesn't mean that his actual addition to the team won't be impactful, because I do think that, again, Jason Zandamela is a 2024 freshman on the offensive line. I am never in my life going to say that a true freshman is going to be a good plus starter on the offensive line in the SEC. You want to hear that? Go listen to someone else. I'm sorry. I can't tell you. I can't lie to you like that. What I can tell you is that Jason Zandamela, a true freshman on the offensive line, what he can bring you is that he can give you depth on the interior of your offensive line. And depth is very valuable. You know, depth is very appreciated at this point in the game. Depth is an incredible thing to have at any point. And for the Florida Gators, having depth at center with Jason Zandamela, some of you may be getting ahead of me, having Jason Zandamela as a freshman that plays center allows you to have Rod Kearney, a redshirt freshman, that in high school played guard, potentially move to guard full time. That's the impact that I think Jason Zandamela can make right away. You are out of your flippin' mind if you think that I'm going to come here and tell you that a true freshman is going to be this big impact player at guard, center, tackle, any spot on the offensive line in 2024. It's just not what I'm going to say. I can't bring myself to say that. But again, you don't have to be playing to make an impact. Jason Zandamela gives you a backup center, which means that Rod Kearney, who is currently your backup center and played guard in high school and practiced at guard in the spring, can potentially make the move to guard full time now. Whether that means Rod Kearney would start this year or not, it gives you your answer at guard for next year. I would play him this year just because, like, can't be worse, right? And you're young, so you'll get better. So that's where I stand, where I love adding Jason Zandamela. I love adding a young blue chip player at any point that you can. It's top interior offensive lineman in the transfer portal right now is a Florida Gator. Okay. Now, adding him gives you long-term backup / potential starter at center. Because don't forget, your current starter in Jake Slaughter can go to the NFL draft after this season. So if Jake Slaughter were to declare for the NFL draft, you would now have Jason Zandamela as a redshirt freshman or true sophomore starting next year. And also, like, just buckle in and sit with me here. Jason Zandamela at center. Kanaisha Harris at left guard. Rod Kearney at right guard. Just saying. You do that for 2025 and 2026. You could have your interior of the offensive line figured out through 2026. That's a big ad for me. Like, I understand that for 2024, I personally don't think Jason Zandamela will be playing much and making an impact in that way. But first off, Florida dealt with center injuries last year with Kingsley Eguakin. But also, having someone who long-term can be an answer for you is huge. Like, that's big news. I get it. Again, I'm just saying I don't think he makes an on-field impact this year. I will never say that for a true freshman offensive lineman. Just can't do it. Even if he does, I'm fine being wrong here. History tells me that he won't. And that's fine. Not everybody needs to be a big-time impact player immediately. And we will talk about that in a second because there's a few things we have to talk about: scholarships and transfer portal, if he's an impact player or not, and what you're looking for there. But first, we do have to get a couple of words, just a couple, for a sponsor. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. Prices in the Game Time app go down the closer that you get to tip-off. And I want to tell you about the zone deals, because zone deals are, I mean, just sick. They're awesome. So zone deals is that you buy tickets in a zone, just like you pick a section. You buy tickets in that section, and Game Time gives you seats in that section. Oftentimes, the seats that you're getting would have been more expensive than what you paid. Like, I paid for a zone deal at Citi Field a couple weeks ago. I got front row, right field, right by the foul pole. It's beautiful. Beautiful. I'm just saying the Mets, of course, lost that game because why wouldn't they? But zone deal, at least I was like, all right, at least I didn't spend too much money here. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And today's episode of Locked On Gators, today's second bonus episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by Monopoly Go. Like, we got to pause here to talk about Monopoly Go, which I know you're like, you said that already, because you said it in, I think, this morning's episode. You said it in today's first bonus episode. I'm telling you again, in Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock, with unique stickers for completing albums, new cool pieces to travel the boards. And it's just fun to travel. Like, you start at New York, you can go to New Orleans, you can go to the moon, you can go everywhere. It's freaking sick. I'm just saying, there's always new timed events as well that help you win big. You can get massive multipliers for everything you win, or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench, go download it now free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. Hello, and thank you again for joining for another bonus episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day, your second listen, your third listen of the day every day. I don't care how many times you listen to it. I am Brandon Olsen, and a couple of things about the Jason Zandamela edition. First off, talking about just the transfer portal in general. I know I've said that I don't think Jason Zandamela will play much right now. And typically, you go, okay, well, if you're a transfer portal edition and you're not playing, that's not good. But again, here at Locked On Gators, I don't care what anyone else thinks. I don't care what anyone else says. Here at Locked On Gators, our thought process, our community thought process is there are two kinds of transfer portal additions you want to make, right? Guys that are instant impact players, even if it's rotational, instant impact players that were starters at their last spot and successful starters at their last spot, or extensions of your freshman class, extensions of your recruiting class, rookie class, whatever you want to call it, extensions of that. Because we look at Jason Zandamela and we go, well, he's a 2024 true freshman that's here, right? 2024 true freshman here that is going to be here for, he's got 4 years of eligibility. Like, he just got on campus. And if he redshirts, 5. He's not even on campus A. He just committed to the Florida Gators. So you're adding instant, immediate depth here from a young player like Jameer Grimsley. He was from the transfer portal technically, adding an extension to your class. But also I count that for guys that if you spent a year somewhere and you redshirted, or you were like very rarely rotational depth kind of guy, and you come over here, I count you as an extension of the freshman class. I don't count you as someone that we're bringing in and we're like, oh yeah, you're going to start immediately. I don't do that. So for me, this is a great add. I know that I said I don't think he plays much this year. That's perfectly fine. He doesn't have to. He could be your immediate backup center that allows you to put Rod Kearney at guard, and he can immediately compete for a starting spot at guard. That alone makes Jason Zandamela a good addition. And if you want to try Jason Zandamela at guard and have Rod Kearney at center, that's fine too. I don't think that's the case just because Jason Zandamela's played center mostly. But again, I mean, Kanaji Harris played center almost exclusively, if I'm not mistaken, in high school. And he moved to guard immediately while Rod Kearney moved from guard to center. So this coaching staff has moved guys around on the interior before. It would not shock me if they did it again. So that's a possibility, and that's fine. Again, you're adding immediate depth, and that alone is good enough for me because, I mean, this offensive line needs a lot of work. You're adding a high impact player in the future. This is a blue chip addition here. I'm glad. I really do hope that Rod Kearney is the one that's moved to guard. I think he could be a big time impact player there. I hated it when they moved him to center. I still hate it that he's playing center. I want him at guard. I think he's an SEC starter quality guard. Like he might not be SEC starter quality right now, will be an SEC starter quality guard. And I'm not sure if Florida has 2 SEC starter quality guards on roster, where you need 2 because you have 2 guards that start. So even if one's not, maybe at least start the younger one. Just saying. But also that brings us to the next bit of this where, and we'll talk about this on tomorrow's show, where Florida's at the 85 scholarship roster limit now. Meaning that any players that they were interested in or are still interested in, they will have to make room, which at this point would probably mean a grad transfer out, or just Riley Simons was an offensive lineman that everybody knew was not going to play. And he joined the coaching staff as a student assistant, even though he still had a year of eligibility left. If you can find another guy like that, which I think we can, but if you can find another guy like that, then you do it. You've got guys that have played multiple positions and not worked out in any of them. You've got guys that have played one position and not worked out in any of them. You can create a spot if you have a player that you want to add. But for the time being, the Florida Gators are capped out with their scholarship limit. And you could also do the thing of like, yeah, well, you're a walk-on, but we're going to give you enough NIL to pay for this, whatever it may be. I don't care how you do it. But if you're trying to add more talent, get it done, whether that's removing people and keeping a scholarship or paying more NIL to someone so that they can then just pay for their tuition and everything. But for the Florida Gators, I mean, you're at 85. It's a better roster than last year, easily, like by a large margin, I think, even if it's just the depth guys that improved. We'll take a quick run through the chat, and then we're going to bounce. Michael Hassan said, awesome, been waiting to hear this news. Yeah, it's big news, like Jason Zandamela. I'll be honest with you. I was very much thinking that Jason Zandamela was not going to be a Florida Gator soon, because I was like, okay, they're probably prioritizing, or I know they were prioritizing a veteran wide receiver, which again, this points to a lot. But they're prioritizing a veteran wide receiver. And if they couldn't get him, then they'd get Jason Zandamela. But if they took too long, maybe Jason Zandamela would commit to UCF. But Jason Zandamela is a Florida Gator. So yeah, Tony, hell yeah, times 2. Chomp chomp. 2 lives in 1 day. Zach Fink, yes, we did. We did it. James Draper Donovan got 2 Gators there. We got Go Gators. We got Fire Me Up, Brandon from Tony. No one can say this isn't a 7 or 8 win team. This is a game changer. I think that it was still either way. Geek Zanny said, "Are we still in the Badger running?" We'll see. I know there's mutual interest. I'll say that. But the latest is that back of Elijah Badger might be a little bit more jacked than anticipated. And maybe that's what's holding this back. We'll talk about that tomorrow because, yeah, we do have to talk about that as well. But, yeah, this is long-term depth at the absolute worst. Is the news about Badger not coming anymore? I think that might be the case, Deshaun. That's at least my understanding of it. But thank you all so much for tuning in. 2 lives in 1 day is absolutely crazy. And it's a lot of fun. So thank you for that. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first, second, or third listen of the day. We will be back tomorrow. Don't forget, tomorrow we also have 2 episodes. One that's coming out the normal time, 3 a.m. on audio, 8 a.m. Eastern time on YouTube. And then in the late morning, early afternoon, we're going to be joined by Locked On Canes' Alex Dono. And we're going to be talking about that Florida-Miami game on August 31st. But that's for tomorrow. Just saying. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Giants Country and NFL 33. And I'll see you all next time.